another episode of the Manifesting Muslim Ramadan series, Aligning with Allah. My darling, we are 2 weeks in now. 2 weeks in on Ramadan. And how are we doing? How are we doing? I feel like usually around this time I get into a bit of a rhythm. My body's used to it now. It's not so headachy or miserable as it might have been in the beginning, you know, like the physical feelings of the fasting and so on. But I usually always also get a little bit tired around this time. It gets a little bit harder to wake up in the mornings and find the energy to be like, oh, am I really going to get up and like make my sahur, or am I just going to sleep through it and I'll be fine? I always wake up anyway because I cannot go a whole day without eating sahur. I need it. I'm a food lover. I love my food. So I always make sure to wake up and eat even if it gets hard. But feel free to reach out to me over on Instagram and let me know how you're doing. And let's just check up on each other, especially those of you who, like me, celebrates Eid and Ramadan alone. So, you know, let's keep each other company and make sure that we're all doing okay, inshallah. Okay, so in today's episode, we're going to take everything that we've been discussing for the past week and just kind of talk a little bit about the greater purpose of doing the things that we've been discussing when it comes to our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You may have noticed there's a bit of a thread sort of holding all of the topics that we've been speaking about the last week together, or sort of bringing it sort of together in a way. And that is, a lot of it is surrendering everything back to Allah. There's a huge element of surrender when it comes to our relationship with Allah, and it's such a huge aspect that it kind of touches on absolutely everything else. Surrendering and trusting, and I kind of, you know, will put those two together, surrender and trust, because you can't surrender if you don't have trust, which is also why this week the first thing that I wanted to talk to you about was tawakkul, because it is truly a lifestyle. And tawakkul is one of those things that we know so much about in theory. We understand tawakkul in theory, but to put it into to practice in our everyday lives can feel scary, can feel very, very scary. And it becomes even more scary to do so and to live in that tawakkul and trust in Allah in a very practical element, or in a practical way in this dunya, if our relationship with Allah is struggling or we feel distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So everything that we've been discussing this week has come to the point where ultimately we need to learn to trust Allah, especially when life doesn't make sense. That is when our relationship with Allah truly can shine for us. And that is when we really see what type of relationship we have with Allah. When times are good, alhamdulillah, none of us complain about, you know, anything. Generally speaking, when things are good, when we have enough money, when we have food on our table, when our family is great, when we've got good health and we're succeeding in whatever it is that we're doing, we're not going to worry about our relationship with Allah at that point, because we'll come to Allah and it's like, thank you for giving me everything that I need, and yeah, we're good, yay, high five. All right. But it's when we're being tested, it's when we are going through times that can't necessarily be explained. We can't get the reasons why we're going through something. We have to have patience. We have to endure. We have to really put ourselves or our best faces forward all the time, even though it can be difficult at times and it can be tiring and exhausting. And it's in those moments when the true nature of our relationship with Allah truly shines and is revealed to us, because that is when, if there are anything in our relationship that is struggling in one way or another, that is when it'll come to the surface. It's almost, you know, well, I mean, me and my metaphors, right? But you know, if you're in good health and then suddenly something happens, you know, you pinch a nerve in your back, or you, I don't know, get inflammation somewhere. Now it affects everything else. Because now it's like, oh, but I used to be able to walk and I used to be able to sit, but now the pinched nerve in my back is constantly there. So now it's affecting everything, my exercise, my work, my sleep, my everything, right? And it's the same thing. If you've got like a little pinched nerve with Allah, where there's just one thing that's struggling, it will affect. And it's really going to come up to the surface when we're going through difficult times. It's going to be highlighted in those moments. And Allah is not doing that because he's trying to punish you. He's not doing it because he wants to sort of bully you or shame you for, oh, see this area of our relationship, we need to work on. He's doing it because that is his mercy. He's saying, we can do better here. We can do better here. I want you to be stronger with me here. I need you to trust me more here. I need you to surrender more here. I need you to put more effort in here. I need you to release more here. Whatever it is that might be coming up, and whatever it is in the area that might be coming up. For some people, it's just one thing. For other people, it might be several things. And that's, an individual journey. And each one of us has to figure out what that's going to look like for us. But the important thing is that in these moments, we surrender everything back to Allah. We are not the controlling factors in anything. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. So we, in our surrendering, are showing a trust. And it's very, very, very important that when we think of surrendering, we're not thinking of giving up. I think a lot of people view surrendering things back to Allah as if like, oh, that must signal like I don't care, like I'm not bothered. And that's not what we mean by surrendering. When we're saying surrendering, we're talking about allowing Allah's plan to come to fruition. I will do what I can, but ultimately I know that there's a higher power that will have his way before any of my ways will ever come to fruition. It's a surrendering of knowing that you have limited abilities in this dunya and akhirah, for that matter, regardless of where you're going. But one is certainly better than another. But the point is that it's a knowing and a trusting that you don't have to do everything yourself. You don't have to have everything figured out, but you have to trust that there is someone who is able to do everything and more, and have it all figured out, and know what's to come and what has gone before, and what has gone sideways and what has gone the other way, and is in complete control of all of it all at once. You don't need to be that person. You don't need to have all of those things. You don't need to show up to Allah as complete in that sense. You just show up complete in your trust and your surrendering to Allah. That is where you surrender. I like to tell my clients, especially those who have big dreams and are working towards achieving great things in their lives, there comes a point where you have to take a leap of faith, right? There's, a lot of people dream big. I don't mind people dreaming big, but at some point you got to take that leap of faith, and you have to trust that when you're taking that leap of faith on these big dreams that you have, that Allah is going to be your safety net, right? He's going to catch you if you fall. So you will never actually fall. You will just be supported. You will be guided. You will be carried back up again. And when we have big dreams and we don't have Allah and we don't have this relationship with Allah, it can feel like we are literally taking a leap of faith into, I was going to say the Grand Canyon, but I've never been. But I would assume like taking a leap into the Grand Canyon would probably not give you the best results. So, it could be a little scary, or just like taking a leap into the void of not knowing anything. The uncertainty for us as Muslims, and this is such a beautiful thing for us, and really one of the superpowers that we have as Muslims that we just take for granted so often, is Allah. Allah is our superpower. He's our secret. He's our everything. He's that, what's it called? Oh gosh, why am I saying that? It's clearly not shaitan at this point, because he has been locked away. But alhamdulillah, this is just my poor remembering. No, you know what? I can't remember it right now. It's completely gone. Either way, whatever it was, if it's important, it'll come back to me. The point is that we have this superpower, we have this advantage. That was the word I was going to say. We have this advantage as Muslims that we have Allah. And what greater advantage can we ask for in this dunya? But we don't utilize it. We don't utilize it, and we think we're utilizing it simply by coming to prayer. And listen, that's a good step. Like, don't skip on the prayers, right? That's definitely not what I'm saying. But it also comes in the way that we're actually living this life, because we know we have Allah, because there's a certainty in Allah. Even if we feel uncertain about our next steps and why something has happened and what's going to happen afterwards and so on and so forth, there's a certainty in Allah. You don't need certainty in dunya, you need certainty in Allah. And there is nothing more certain than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is literally nothing in this dunya that is certain except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So put that certainty in Him. Stop making all of these plans and trying to, again, micromanage Allah to control outcomes. Stop trying to, let go of effort and say, well, if Allah wants it, He's going to figure it out for Himself and I just kind of have to cruise along. No. Be active, participate, but participate with Allah. Do it with Allah, Allah by your side every step of the way. That is a relationship with Allah that you want. You do not want to do it on your own. If you're doing it on your own, my darling, you will struggle. It'll be miserable. It'll be difficult. I can't remember who I said it to not too long ago. I think it was one of my one-on-one clients, where I said, the funny thing about life is, you hear so many people say, life is a game, you should treat it as a game, blah, blah, blah. And it's always been like, to me at least, like, oh my God, shut up. Like, there's rent and there's, vaccines and dentist appointments and difficult family members and whatever, life gets difficult, so shut up, it's not a game, there's clearly so much responsibility. And then when I started truly creating this relationship with Allah, life became a game. And I get it now. And I want you to understand it as well, so you can enjoy this dunya for the sake of akhirah. So it's no longer a deen over dunya, it's dunya for the sake of deen, it's deen for the sake of dunya, it's dunya for the sake of akhirah, and akhirah because of dunya. We are not choosing either or. We can have both. We literally have to have both. Otherwise, Allah wouldn't have put us in this dunya to begin with. I want you to understand that. But if you want to make this journey on this earth a little bit easier for yourself, and mind you, that doesn't mean that there won't be difficult times and you won't have hardship and heartache and all of these things. It just means that it gets easier to deal with it. Not because you become a strong person within yourself and independent and I can handle myself, but because you have got the most secure security, guidance, provider, support, anything you could want or need at any moment right there with you, because you're taking Him with you every step of the way. You don't just accept Him and approach Him in prayer. He is literally with you every step of the day, throughout every day of your life. That is the kind of relationship you need to have in your life. And I pray, inshallah, that throughout the rest of this month, we can get you another step closer. And by the way, please, please, please don't think that, just because you hear these episodes over the course of Ramadan, that, okay, now you've had 30 days to do it and it'll be perfect. You'll have your ups and downs. I've done this for years at this point. I still have my ups and downs, but alhamdulillah, it becomes easier to get back to that point where, you find that rock and that support and that anchor in Allah, and give it time. Allow Allah to work with you, allow Him to be with you, allow Him to guide, allow Him to support, allow Him to provide, allow Him to show you His mercy, even if it means that He will make a hard decision for you that you are struggling to make for yourself. Okay, I could go on and on and on and on, but I am really trying to keep these episodes kind of bite-sized. I'm so struggling to do that. They're definitely not very bite-sized, a lot of them. But anyway, my darling, we are going to start next week. We're going to talk about, not next week. The next week of Ramadan, but tomorrow. tomorrow's episode, and we're going to talk about the inner alignment. Okay, so up until now, we've spoken about sort of the outer, how we're living our lives and how we're acting and doing things. So from this, in the next week, we're going to talk about the inner alignment. I'm super excited to take you through that. So my darling, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope I'll see you in tomorrow's episode. But until then, my darling friend, please don't forget to live in love.